What is going on, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today we're doing a brand new presentation of the 2021 edition. This is going to be the second video, and I don't know how many videos I'm going to be able to make on this topic, but I know these videos are extremely popular right now, and you guys are looking forward to the 2021 edition. We're going to be getting a couple more screenshots in the next few days, so go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and if you want to see more content like this, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any 2021 news whenever it is released. I will let you guys know in the community tab. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get into the presentation. We're going to go ahead and start off with this screenshot right here, in which we see the new president of the United States. And if we actually look, the graphics look a little bit different. If you actually kind of look at the rivers and the lakes, you can actually see a more of a hint of blue there. Does this mean that we're not going to be able to use these for shipping lanes or something like that? I believe that for right now we can actually put different types of ships into the Great Lakes, but the Great Lakes seem to be a very different color than the ocean. They usually were the same color, so this actually might look a little bit different. We can actually see that the lake down in Florida looks a little bit different. But this is it's a very, I didn't even notice that. But anyway, we see that Biden has a brand new model as he's giving the State of the Union address. Maybe this will start off with the State of the Union address, so that's going to be very interesting. And going on to the next picture, we do have Baden's challenge. Baden's challenge is essentially going to be the next Trump's challenge or Drump's challenge, in which we have to play the new president of the United States, and we have a set amount of time before we are able to complete it and, you know, get the promises that he's made done. So let's go ahead and read through some of these promises. So it is legalize certain categories of illegal immigrants. So I think that's going to be legalizing them by certain criteria. Improve the integration of immigrants, so that's going to be changing the law of the integration. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Investments to better monitor actions of the police and to punish excessive force. So I believe maybe they're adding a brand new law to the United States, or just in general, in which we are going to be able to better fund actions relating to the police and to punish excessive force. Is there going to be a brand new law that is going to be introduced into the game to punish excessive force? Or is this both going to be a funding measure? In my opinion, I believe it's probably going to be a funding measure, but I'll be very surprised if they're adding a brand new police law. And then we have legislation to limit the sales of firearms. It's probably going to be limiting them to hunting rifles. Or maybe they're changing the law text, which will make a lot of a difference. And then we have put an end to the COVID pandemic, which seems to be pretty self-explanatory. An additional $12 billion to improve racial equality in the workplace as well as between the sexes. So instead of just having sexual equality in the workplace, we're actually going to have funding measures for the same thing, except it's going to be for racial equality. That's actually going to be very interesting to have that as a feature of the game, even though it's only a funding measure. But, you know, maybe there's going to be a type of metric that we're going to be able to see whether we are abiding, or how, you know, racially equal are we. And then we have renovating, equipping, and constructing new buildings for primary and secondary education. So I believe that's going to be renovating and equipping. Basically, it's going to be the two funding measures, and then constructing the two buildings as we see fit. So maybe there's going to be I can't read the rest of that, unfortunately. And then we do have an additional $7 billion in the budget for research into information and communication technologies. So there's a lot more to these promises that we're not able to see. I actually don't have any extra screenshots for this to see what else is being presented into the game. So that's going to be very interesting. So all of these, I'm actually pretty excited to see what changes are coming into racial equality and better monitoring actions of the police and to punish excessive force. I'm pretty excited for those. As head of the USA, the player must keep all the promises made during the electoral campaign and during the State of the Union address. More than 20 goals to meet. They mainly cover fiscal policy, massive investments in infrastructure, development of clean energies, ending the health crisis, and reducing inequality and discrimination. But tensions in the American population threaten to reemerge, especially with a program that greatly offends the most radical fringes of the conservative opposition. So, wow, that's tensions in the American population to reemerge, especially with a program that greatly offends the radical fringes of the conservative population. So is there going to be a new program that we are going to be able to implement in, oh, actually, maybe it's going to be like reparations or something like that. Oh, maybe it's going to be reparations. Maybe it's going to be some sort of controversial program. So if they say program, my bet is that it's going to be reparations. I'm pretty much certain now. I didn't even see this before. I just saw this and I'm like, oh god, they're doing reparations. So that's going to be interesting. I may be wrong on reparations, but what are you guys' thoughts on what program that will greatly offend? Maybe that's why they didn't scroll down, and maybe that's why I wasn't able to see what other programs were available that we needed to push through. But what is you guys' thoughts? Do you guys think it's reparations or do you think it's something else? All right, and one of the features that I am extremely excited for is free trade agreements. This is going to be an extremely interesting feature in which we now have a secondary to economic contracts, and we can actually see right here that the European Union is you're no longer going to be able to well, you're probably still going to be able to make trade contracts with individual countries within the European Union. But whenever you're making a free trade agreement, maybe now it's going to be just as the European Union as a whole, because the European Union, whenever it comes to trade, they usually talked with each other together and they actually accept those agreements because it comes from all of them. It doesn't just come from one country. I actually don't know how trade works specifically with the European Union. If you guys are more knowledgeable about that, go ahead and leave your comments down below. But Global Economic Treaty, that is going to be one of the free trade agreements that we have. And it says below it, affected sectors is anything with a quota on a certain product considered strategic by the partner country. So anything with the quota, maybe they're changing a lot of things in their economic sectors. And then we actually see tariffs are now, maybe we can start increasing tariffs without worry of the WTO. I'm really hoping that's what they did, especially if we're starting to deal with free trade agreements, and maybe we can start tariffing specific countries instead of just tariffing the product as a whole. But tariffs are greatly reduced with the Global Economic Treaty, which is 80% on average. So tariffs are reduced 80% on average with the Global Economic Treaty. And that border control is very light. Regulations, it is compliance of security and health regulations imposed by the partner for incoming products. Is there going to be a new option for us to regulate the compliance of security and health regulations for our own products? Or is that just, a couple of words that they wanted to put into the free trade agreement? We have access to members' public markets, and then recognition of a country of origin label by the partner. I am extremely excited for this feature. This is one of the biggest features that I have been honestly waiting for the longest time since I've been playing Superpower 2, honestly. And I think that this is going to be a game changer whenever it comes to free trade agreements. So let me actually go ahead and read off of the free trade agreements in the email that I was sent. So it says various types of agreements can be proposed, depending on the economic, political, or environmental impact. This will enable you to develop various volumes of trade between countries or the European Union and thus promote economic growth. So it is confirmed that instead of doing a free trade agreement with like France, for example, instead of it's going to be France, unless you can do a specific economic treaty or free trade agreement with a specific country within the European Union, or you can do it with the European Union as a whole. That is going to be, but we're going to, that's either going to be confirmed later or it's going to be confirmed when the game comes out. I, again, do not have a release date, so I do apologize for if you guys are expecting any sort of release dates as of right now. And going on, we now have pictures of the simulation of the European Union. This is going to be a massive game changer whenever it comes to playing in the European Union. And honestly, I am excited as hell for this feature. We have the first screenshot right here, in which we now have the institution of the European Union implemented into the game. We have them as their own separate institution. We have the president of the European Commission. She says, Chancellor, as president of the European Commission, allow me to extend our greatest wishes for the new year and give you the basics on how our institutions function. Proposed bills are voted on by 27 of maybe January. I don't know. Next election, but we do have European Union elections. Wow. I am excited. I am I'm totally going to be doing a series in the future as a European Union country. I totally want to do it. Maybe it's going to be France, or it's going to be like Germany, or maybe Poland, maybe an Eastern European Union country. But we have the European Parliament in the game now. That is again, this is a game changer, and it's not only just something to kind of look at and see what the composition of the European Union is. Let's go ahead and go on to the next picture, and we see it's going to be meetings, regular meetings on how the European Union is supposed to work. And if I actually go over and read the email of the simulation of the European Union, let's go ahead and start off with this, and we'll go back to the screenshot. The complex simulation of the European Union has been incorporated to simulate the cogs in the machine and to allow its development. We have the roles of the executive and legislative branch of the European Union, detailed spending and revenue budgets, system of country membership dues, aid payments, economic breakdown and ranking of all regions of the member countries, and holding elections in Europe, as we saw in the previous picture. The player can propose resolutions within all areas of responsibility within the European Union, especially the rules of social and fiscal harmonization between member countries, but they will have to be particularly shrewd and convincing, because decisions are made collectively among the nations with sometimes conflicting objectives. In which case, modifying the voting rules will prove particularly interesting. So the player can also redistribute the annual aid they receive from the European Union to try to maximize these subsidies. So there's a lot to take out from that email, and that is the biggest explanation about how this is supposed to work in Power and Revolution. So we're going to go ahead and start off with roles of the executive and legislative. And these are mostly going to be questions, and again, I don't have answers to these right now, but this is kind of like what I'm curious about. Roles of the executive and legislative. Are we going to be able to play as the president of the European Commission while we are also the head of state? But I also believe that that's not the case, because I don't think that the head of state of a country can also play or be the president of the European Commission, unless I'm wrong on that, but I'm like 95% certain that I'm not wrong. And then we have roles of the executive. But actually, no, roles of the executive and legislative. Yeah, it's definitely just going to be like the president of the European Commission is going to be like some random politician from a certain country within the European Union. And then legislative, obviously, we have the European Parliament. There will be European elections that take place every 4 years. And then we have detailed spending and revenue budgets. What are we going to be able to spend on? What are we going to be able to get revenue from? You know, not only will we have global economic taxes, we will also have European Union taxes. So, what kind of taxes are those going to be? And can we do it as an individual country? Or actually, no, just like in the picture that we see here, we will have ways that we can do it, but the European Union has to agree to it. It's not just going to be you proposing it and then it getting passed. It's going to be the European Union, like, 28 different countries, 27 different countries voting on it as a whole. Then we have membership dues. So we're actually going to be able to change and affect the membership dues of the European Union countries. And then aid payments. What kind of aid payments are we talking about here? Economic breakdown. What will that look like? I'm actually really curious about what the economic breakdown is going to be. And then ranking of all regions of the member countries, and then elections in Europe, as we've stated twice before. And then we have the player can propose resolutions within all areas of responsibilities in the European Union, especially the rules of social harmonization and fiscal harmonization. So we're gonna be able to affect the budget of the European Union, and we're also going to be able to start making laws on social harmonization. Can we retract it? Can we retract social harmonization? Can we forward social harmonization? Obviously we can forward it, but can we retract it? Because there are a couple of elements within the European Union, such as Hungary, such as Poland, that have made laws themselves that have actually been considered retracting social harmonization. So can we do that? And when we do that, it's going to be a lot harder for Poland or something like that. Maybe it's going to depend on the relationships that you have, because in the European Union Parliament, it has to be a unanimous decision, and sometimes Poland is actually protected by countries like Hungary, especially Hungary, because of the laws that they've been passing in recent years. Going on, we have especially they will have to be particularly shrewd and convincing, because decisions are made collectively among the nations with sometimes conflicting objectives. Just like I stated before, it's going to be places like Poland, it's going to be places like Hungary that are going to be very much against certain types of laws. And in that case, we can actually see, and we're actually told, that we are able to modify the rules of voting in the European Union. So we can actually propose different laws into the country, into the parliament, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out in Power and Revolution. I'm really excited for this feature. And then we can also redistribute the annual aid they receive from the European Union to try and maximize the subsidies. So that means, I guess, we can actually say okay, so this country gets this amount of money, this country gets this amount of money, and maybe they'll like you for it, or they'll actually be more supportive of different types of laws in being proposed in the European Union. But going back to this picture, we can actually see that this is the European Council. This is going to be a meeting that takes place in Power and Revolution whenever you propose a law. So we actually see, so the required vote, depending on the law, maybe it's going to be all laws, or it's going to be some laws, but required vote is a simple majority with 55% of countries and 65% of the population. So not only do you need to meet 55% of countries, you need to meet 65% of the population of the European Union. So you're going to have to get countries like France, like Germany, like Poland, like Spain on board before you're able to get something passed with a considerable margin. Or maybe, France and Germany are going to be the only ones that vote against it, and then you meet 65% of the population with like every other small country of the European Union. And then we have the application of reimbursement. So this is actually an explanation of what we were just talking about. Legislation affected: EU revenue, carbon tax on imported products. So just like I said before, it is actually going to be this is going to be one of the laws that we can vote in favor of for, you know, affecting the budget of the European Union, on how it makes revenue, how it funds itself, and then I can't wait to see what kind of expenses that we can start putting into the European Union. So reading on, a reimbursement involves reducing the membership dues paid by the selected country. The goal of reimbursement is to persuade these countries that it is in their best interest to vote in favor of the legislation. This membership can be justified as compensation for any future frustrations or injustices inflicted on these countries by this legislation. Although it can encourage profiting countries to change their vote to 4, it can also alienate other countries that are voting on it, since this will automatically increase their own membership dues. Multiple reimbursements accepted in various legislations can add up. Note that an abstention is considered a vote against in the final vote count of all the countries. So then we can enter the percent of membership dues reimbursement, and then that's whenever we can select, Germany, for example, and we can lower their membership dues to 5%. So essentially we can do reimbursement for, again, it's reducing the membership dues paid by the selected country. So yeah, it is. So basically this is just us changing the membership dues for a certain country, and then we can, just like as it's selected right here, it would allow Germany to only have to pay 5% in membership dues. So this can be very interesting for us. Maybe we can try to get everyone else to pay it, and then, like, my country can just like not pay anything in reimbursement taxes. So yeah, and then a very interesting feature right here: time remaining in the meeting. So we have an hour and 50 minutes left in the meeting. So are meetings timed now? Do we have to? Do we have a certain amount of time that we have in order to get something done within the European Parliament? And then, as we can see, so there are 18 pro, 7 abstentions, and 2 against. So how do we know if we've surpassed that 55% of countries and 65% of populations? Probably without Germany. I'm pretty certain that with the abstentions that we're looking at and the yeah, I'm pretty certain that is not 65% of the population of the European Union that has agreed to this measure. So this is going to be very interesting. It looks like it's going to work a little bit similarly to the United Nations, but it also is going to be its own, looks like, game in itself. So I'm really excited for the European Union in the future. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Guys, I know you guys have been waiting for another one of these videos, so go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any more 2021 news when it comes out. Make sure you be there when I preview the 2021 edition as soon as it is released. So I look forward to seeing you guys in that stream. I know it's going to be a massive stream, so I'm really excited to preview the 2021 edition in the next couple of months. Again, I have no idea what the release date is. If you guys are expecting a release date, I do not have one. So again, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you guys in the next video in a couple of days. I do have an email that does tell me that there will be a couple more screenshots in the next few days, so look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.